Hey everyone, Mario again, coming at you with another episode of Marioradium Talks Wrestling. Now, before I get into it, this week I have to report I did not watch Raw, just never got around to it. And from what I understand, it was a step down from last week, so a little bit of fear there. But when I found out why, partially due to some of the booking ideas and partially due to it being the Slammy Awards, I was not surprised. I haven't really been a fan of the Slammy Awards the last couple of years because it really is turning into a major gimmick now. And just looking at this year's Slammies they were giving out, no big surprise there. So I'm really just going to talk about the Slammies and who won for the Raw portion of this week's show. Though I will say one thing I heard about Raw involving Sheamus and his attitude really does kill it. I mean, he lost the WWE World Heavyweight title last week to Roman Reigns, partially because of him being an idiot and going, yeah, I'll put the title on the line. Yet you have him out there and he doesn't seem to complain about it. People wonder why, and some people wonder why we say Vince McMahon is out of touch because of shit like that. But anyway, starting off, the tag team of the year, excuse me, went to the Usos, which boggles my mind a little bit since they were only there about half the year. The other nominees were the Primetime Players, Tyson Kidd and Cesaro, the Lucha Dragons, and the New Day, who I think should have won, because out of all these, they were the most entertaining this year. So you know what, WWE? You Wasawa! The best John Cena U.S. Open Challenge, it went to his match with Cesaro on Raw. Now, any of these matches probably could have done it, because I remember enjoying all of these matches to an extent, but the Cesaro one I remember enjoying a lot. Anyway, the ones that beat were his match with Ziggler on October 12th, his match with Sami Zayn on May 4th. That one probably was soured a little bit by Zayn being injured. His match with Dean Ambrose on March 30th, and his match with Neville on May 11th. Hashtag of the year went to Suplex City. It beat out Give Divas a Chance, Save the Tables, Axelmania, and RKO out of nowhere. I'm not surprised Suplex City won. If anyone else deserved to win, it probably would have been RKO out of nowhere, mainly because of all those RKO out of nowhere things that were made. Celebrity Moment of the Year went to Stephen Amell diving onto Stardust and King Barrett at SummerSlam, which, looking at the rest of these, I'll say, okay, because a lot of these other ones, I'm not even going to talk about it. Then we got the Tell Me You Didn't Just Say That Insult of the Year. It went to Brock Lesnar coining Suplex City at WrestleMania 31, which Suplex City has been commercialized to death since then, which, given how WWE is with their merchandising, shouldn't be surprised. But that moment, I still enjoyed that. That was probably one of my favorite moments in the match that I can remember off the top of my head. Suplex City, bitch! Anyway, it beat out Ambrose calling Rollins Justin Bieber on May 25th. Rollins calling Johnny Manziel Johnny Idiotface on June 15th. Rollins dissing Kane while celebrating the Authority's WrestleMania accomplishments. And Paige spoiling Charlotte's WWE Divas Championship celebration. Now, if it was me, the nomination would have been her more dark one, because that really is a tell me you didn't just say that thing, but that's just me. Rivalry of the Year went to The Undertaker and Brock Lesnar, which, looking at the rest of these, I can sort of see why that one won. The other ones were Reigns versus Wyatt, which that was basically a filler feud for both of them. Cena versus Rusev, which that is basically a feud straight out of the 1980s, and it really died once Cena beat Rusev at WrestleMania. Team Bella versus Team BAD versus Team PCB, which I haven't really paid attention to that one. And Rollins versus Orton. I don't even remember much about that feud, so I don't really remember. Best Original WWE Network Show went to Stone Cold's Podcast, beating Breaking Ground, Table for Three, WWE 24, and Swerved. From what I understand, the only one of these that probably could have given Stone Cold's Podcast some competition was Table for Three. I think probably Stone Cold's Podcast won based solely on how he doesn't really shy away from asking tough questions. I mean, just look at the questions he asked Vince last year. I didn't watch the version of it on the network, but from what I understand, he basically stared a hole in Vince at one part, and it basically giving him a tell me you didn't just say that combined with a what look. Double Cross of the Year went to Damien Mizdow eliminating The Miz from the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, which Out of all these, that's probably the best one. I mean, we got Stardust turning on Goldust, which that one probably could have given it a run for its money if they had followed up properly, but no, we can't give them a WrestleMania match, even if it's just on the pre-show. Paige attacking Charlotte and Becky Lynch. Randy Orton turning on Seth Rollins, and then Jon Stewart costing Cena the U.S. title. That one no one really saw coming, but that one's a little weird, but at least Mizdow finally was used at the end of this year. Extreme moment of the year went to Roman Reigns attacking Sheamus, Del Rio, Rusev, and Triple H with a steel chair at TLC, which beat out the Lesnar-Undertaker brawl on July 20th. Luke Harper powerbombing Ambrose through a ladder at WrestleMania, Rollins breaking Cena's nose on Raw, and Neville diving off a ladder onto several superstars. It's hard to tell if this one deserved to win or if it only won because it was the most recent, but since out of all these it seems to have the biggest impact on a person's character, since Reigns actually did something badass, like how he should be doing stuff, I could see why it won. Breakout star of the year was Neville, who beat out Kevin Owens, Charlotte, Tyler Breeze, and Braun Strowman. I really feel that Owens should have won this one, but since it's supposed to be fan voting, I can see why Neville won. I think someone would say, if they, I have a feeling people like Russo would be saying if Owens won, he only won because he did. Bro, he only won because of the smart fans. I don't even know why I was going to give him the whiny voice, but there'd be a lot of bros in there. So Neville out of the other ones winning, I can see. Because Strowman, not really that much breakout. Charlotte, she's the Divas champion, but not really much character-wise yet. Neville's probably the only one, but I would prefer Owens. The lull moment of the year went to R-Truth mistaking himself of being in the Money in the Bank ladder match in the Final Four in the World Heavyweight Championship tournament on Raw and SmackDown. It beat out Edge and Christian, bringing back the Kazoo, the Bushwhackers, WWE Hall of Fame induction speech, The Miz and Damien Mizdow's dysfunction commercial on Raw, and the New Day getting Stephanie McMahon and Triple H to dance. I don't even remember this one that much. I think I remember it a little bit, but I remember lolling. I mean, the oh my god, shocking moment. I went to Kalisto hitting his Selena Del Sol on the top of the ladder at TLC. It beat out Seth Rollins cashing in Money in the Bank, Lesnar's Rampage in order to get a championship rematch the night after Raw, the Wyatt family attacking The Undertaker after his Hell in a Cell match, and Sheamus cashing in Money in the Bank. I have to say that Lesnar's Rampage and Seth Rollins cashing in Money in the Bank really did give the Selena Del Sol spot a run for its money. And it's hard to say which one of those actually should have won, but since it's a fan voting thing and that one's happened most recently, I could see why they voted for that one. Me personally, I probably would have went with the Rollins or the Lesnar Rampage, because Rollins cash-in is an oh my god moment because we finally get someone cashing in Money in the Bank at WrestleMania. And Lesnar's Rampage, it really fits his character because he was pissed. Let's see, and Superstar of the Year went to Seth Rollins, and every superstar was nominated. Now, you can really make a lot of arguments about how Rollins was booked as champion, but he did really carry the title pretty well for how he was booked. The Hero in All of Us award went to John Cena. What a surprise! And considering who he was nominated against, I'm not surprised he won. I guess this was supposed to be an award for, for charity work or something. Surprise Return of the Year went to Sting as the Seth Rollins statue. The other returns were Chris Jericho, the Dudley Boys, Alberto Del Rio, and Zeb Coulter, and the Demon Kane. Yeah, definitely the best one on here. Though the Dudley Boys probably could have given it a little bit of a run for its money. And Del Rio, especially since he won the U.S. title right when he returned. Diva of the Year went to Nikki Bella, which I have to call bullshit on that one. I think that should have probably gone to Paige or Sasha Banks if we're going by main roster ones, and if we're going by developmental ones as well, Bayley probably should have won it. This Is Awesome moment went to The Rock and Ronda Rousey attacking Triple H and Stephanie McMahon at WrestleMania. It beat out Lesnar destroying J&J Security's car, Randy Orton countering Seth Rollins' curb stomp into an RKO at WrestleMania. The Divas Revolution beginning. And the Shield briefly reunite to triple powerbomb Randy Orton through the announce table at Payback. Now what made that one What made that moment cool was the fact that we didn't expect it, and also the follow up where Rollins tried to get Ambrose and Reigns to do the do the Shield bro fist, and then they're just looking at him weird. He's looking at him back and forth like, oh fuck. That was a funny moment. I can see why they went with Rock and Ronda Rousey though. That moment was cool. I think what made that even more was the fact that Ronda Rousey was wearing a Dragon Ball Z shirt. You want to know what the rating of the awesomeness of this moment was? It's over 9,000. So, like I mentioned when I first reviewed that, I think it would have been better if she put Stephanie in the armbar submission thing she did. And match of the year went to Lesnar and Undertaker inside Hell in a Cell. It beat out Lesnar versus Cena versus Rollins at the Royal Rumble, which, for what I remember, that should have won this. Sting versus Triple H, Cena versus Owens at Elimination Chamber, and Reigns, versus Ziggler versus Alberto Del Rio versus Owens in a fatal four-way to determine the number one contender on Raw. I'm going with the match from the Royal Rumble. That should have won, because that was a pretty good triple threat match. I think Lesnar and Undertaker mainly won because of the history they had. But anyway, that's my opinion on it. Now, like with Raw, I haven't gotten around to watching NXT yet, and I probably will or will not, but I know for certain that I'll be able to get around to watching this coming week's episode. But it seems the only thing of note that really happened is that Sami Zayn returned. And the only reason I know that is because apparently his return was taped either before or after TakeOver to integrate into this week's show. And he actually did a pretty good promo from what I understand. I found it and skimmed through it. The audience was into it and he was very heartfelt with it, and it's good to see him back, because that really sucked that he got put out of action the way he did just from a wrong turn in a match. But he's back, and hopefully he is used properly, especially once he gets to the main roster. I know in NXT he will be. I wonder who his opponent will be. I wonder if he'll be put in there into a program with Samoa Joe, if Joe isn't still going to be going after the title. I mean, it's hard to say with heel Joe the way he is, whether he's going to take his one loss lying down. And that's about it for this week's episode. I know, pretty short episode, but next week I'm going to add something new in addition to the Raw and NXT thoughts, and what other wrestling stuff comes up. I am going to start reviewing old pay-per-views. Now, since it's going to be January, I'm going to start with a few Royal Rumble reviews. I already know which ones I'm going to do. I'm probably going to start out with the 1992 Royal Rumble, which many consider to be the best Royal Rumble pay-per-view and the best Royal Rumble match done. It's the one where Ric Flair walked out of the Royal Rumble as the WWE Champion. I'm probably also going to do the 2004 Royal Rumble, and then a couple other ones. Maybe one of the Attitude Era ones, and then possibly the first one I watched all the way through, the 2014 one. With a couple years on it. It'd be interesting to talk about that, especially the match itself. And another thing is that I don't know when I'm going to get to this. Maybe I'll get to this, around the time the Royal Rumble this year. But I'm also thinking of going back and doing reviews of older episodes of Raw, SmackDown, and all that, and possibly reviews of WCW Nitro. I don't know when I'll get around to that, but I was thinking of it, and probably won't be something I do every week, but maybe it'd be nice, maybe something to do after the NXT part of the show is to get in like a review of an episode of Nitro and then talk about stuff in retrospect. Especially since I didn't watch wrestling in the time of the Monday Night Wars, it'd probably be good to have a perspective from someone who wasn't watching the product at the time and all this. But that's about it to say right now. We'll just see what happens in the next week.